I'm Julie Herman of Jaybird Quilts, and today we're going to talk about fussy cutting. The Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut Shapes are designed to make fussy cutting easy. Specifically today we're going to work with the half triangle shape. The 4.5 inch half triangle can be used two different ways, like this to be the right half triangle in any orientation, or flipped onto the back to be the left half triangle, and that's with the words upside down. So what I do is I start auditioning my piece around the fabric. In this case, the elephant is what I'm featuring, and the elephant is too large to fit the entire thing in the shape. So I'm going to focus on the elephant's head, and I'm going to kind of move this around to see, can I get the eye? Can I get the ear? Do I want the trunk? Do I want the tusks? If I do it straight up and down with grain, I can get the front of the face, the eye, and the trunk, but not all of the tusks. So if I turn it a little bit, oh, that's going to work out good. We don't have to worry about grain when fussy cutting because what's really important is the shape. And so I really like how this is turning out. So if I turn it this way, I'm going to be able to get the trunk, the tusks, the eye, and a hint of the ear. So I think this is what I'm going to do. Now I have a fat quarter, and I want to maximize the cutting of my fat quarter. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see all of it. So there we go. So I am going to be able to cut 5 exactly like this. And today specifically, I'm looking to cut 9 pairs. So I do have one more partial elephant down here that I might be able to cut one. We'll see. But I'm going to start by cutting these. Now, rotary cutter safety, you want to make sure you never cut towards yourself, always cut away. So since we're demoing on film today, I have decided to tape my fat quarter to my cutting mat so that I will be able to move things around and show you how best to do it. When I'm not recording, I just twist the fabric around, but I figured it's best today to show it to you this way. If you have a rotating mat, that can also be handy. Most rotating mats, though, are not big enough to show a full fat quarter. So I am going to actually move this down here closer to, I am right-handed, to the bottom for ease of cutting, but I'm going to keep that same orientation. So I'm going to make sure I have the tusks, the head, and as much of the ear as I can get. And I'm going to hold. And I feel comfortable cutting this long straight side and this short side. And then I'm going to stop. And now I am going to rotate this entire piece to continue cutting. I'm going to cut here. I'm going to cut here. And I'm leaving that in place. Almost off camera, but I think you can still see. I'm just double checking to see if it's moved. If it's moved, I'm just going to go ahead and realign it. There we go. I have my first elephant. So I'm going to repeat that process to cut out the same elephant out of all 5 of my elephants. I'm going to use this as a reference, but I don't need to be exact. These are going to be in different places of the quilt. This is not something where I need exact replications. Sometimes you need that with certain things in English paper piecing and whatnot. So I'm just going to kind of use it as a reference of where was each part of my shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut my next one. I got that cut so far, so I'm going to double check, line it back up. Fussy cutting can be time consuming, much more than just rotary cutting from strips, but the extra time really is worth it for the result in the final piece. So I take my time to carefully make sure, oh, so I'm going to snip a thread there, that everything is exactly how I want it to be. And now I can begin cutting from this direction at this point since I know what I'm cutting. I don't have to flip always back. If it helps you visually to always see everything in the correct orientation, feel free to go ahead and do that. Now I have 3. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this one and this one. And now I have that one cut. And get my last elephant. It's right up here. And I am now aware that I have cut all of these to be right half triangles. So I am going to need to make sure that I cut left half triangles for the project that I'm working on so that I have the pairs that I need. Okay. So my fabric's starting to look like Swiss cheese, which is what happens when you're doing fussy cutting, and that's a-okay. That's what is expected. So now I am going to figure out what am I going to fussy cut next. I need some left half triangles, so I'm going to flip this over to this side so that I get the mirror image. And I'm just going to kind of move around and decide, do I want to get the elephant's feet? Would it look funny to have elephant's feet and an elephant head? Maybe. So maybe there's a flower that I want. That looks kind of cool. Just have like a flower touching the top of the elephant's head. What else could I do? Could just have some greenery. Well, that's kind of nice. I think that actually is what I want to do. But it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. So is there anywhere else I have greenery so I don't use up all of... So what I'll often do here is, this is ideally what I want, this greenery right here. But I'm worried if I cut that I am going to use up too much and not have enough left. So what I'm going to do is place the Fussy Cut shape where I think I want it, and then take a piece that's already cut and place it on top of it so that it kind of marks out that area for me. So then I can continue to see if I'm going to have enough fabric left to cut other things from. So if I cut those that way, can I get a fifth down here? Let's see. I can kind of get a fifth down here. There's a little bit of my fabric that's off the camera. I apologize for that. So I have a fifth one down here. So then that leaves me, so that would be 5 sets, and I do need 9 sets for what I'm working on. So what could I do with the other space that's left? I could, do I like the elephant in there? I like the flower for sure. Where do I want the long part? Ooh, maybe I want that. I think that, oh, that would be good, because then I get that. So I have some other cut pieces over here that I'm going to grab, and I'm going to continue to mark off. If you have not already cut something else that you can use for this, I suggest just taking a scrap or some plain white fabric, anything you've got kind of laying around that you could cut up to use so that as placeholders, because then you get a feel for what space you have before you just dig right on in and cut it and then go, oops, that doesn't fit how I thought that was going to fit, kind of thing. So this, it appears I can have 3 of these. So I could get a 4th of something else. Maybe I could get it up here. So normally I would want it up here, which is to match these, but at the angle, I'd lose my piece here. So I might just have to compromise for this one and just turn it a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm going to put that up there. So now I have all my lefts marked, and then I'm going to need 4 more rights. So this is my exact process. This is what I do. You're watching this live and in real time. I have not already planned this fabric out. So I could get that. Where else would I have that? I'd have that 1, 2, 3, maybe. So that would be a flower mixed with a flower. Is that too much flour? That might be too much flour. What else would I want? And sometimes I don't make all my decisions before cutting. You know, I started with cutting my elephants. Those were my priority. I knew I wanted to feature the elephant face. I hadn't worried about anything else yet. There is enough fabric and enough possibilities left that I know that I will be able to get 4. So I might just jump in now and cut what I think I want for the rest of them, and then figure out my last couple pieces when I go. I can leave these here now as kind of a reference to myself so that I know where I was planning on cutting and just kind of pick them up one at a time. And that way, when I'm cutting this one, I can make sure I don't accidentally cut where I want it to be over there. So I think I'm going to start with this one. And I just want this greenery. So I'm just going to decide if I want to, I don't think I want to go into that flower. I think we're good. So I'm just kind of finding some reference points to myself. I've got a couple little dots and a leaf up there. So everything inside the dotted lines is what's going to show up after your seam allowance. Everything in the grayed out is going to be your seam allowance. So that's why fussy cut shapes are very helpful to show you exactly what you are going to get. I think if I move over here, I'll be able to cut this long piece too. And then I can rotate it around to finish cutting that shape. Let's see, we got that cut. So I'm just going to line that back up. I tend to buy fat quarters, half yards, sometimes even a yard of a print like this that is a little bit of a larger scale, and I know that I might want to do some fussy cutting. So I will then plan to get the yield as best as possible. So I'm working on some kites, and that is going to be my kite, that's perfect. The greens don't match up perfectly, but they have the right kind of swirl and color pattern going on. It pulls the purple from the background. So I am really going to like how that's going to turn out. So I'm going to cut that same location as many times as I can so that I have as many sets like this as I can. So I'm just kind of putting it approximately where it is. I have this vertical, then I'm going to lay it down, and then I can adjust from there. Like I said, this is not an exact science because I don't need perfect mirror images of each other. I'm going to slide this one out of the way so I don't cut it. So as you can see, there is a lot of turning, a lot of moving. You can either rotate your whole mat and your fabric on it, or you can just move your fabric as you go. This way, I'm getting to continually see all of my fat quarter so that I can maximize my cuts from it. Oh, might be time to change my rotary cutting blade. When you get these single little threads that don't seem to get cut, that usually means there's a nick somewhere in your blade, which is probably the case. So I probably need to go ahead and change my rotary cutting blade. I don't know about you, but I definitely don't probably do that as often as I should. It's not like I am intentionally not doing it so much as I just think we forget. There's a lot of things to think about all the time. So again, I have this piece here. I'm gonna just kind of lay this here, lay this down, and I know that I don't want the foot, so I want to make sure that the foot is in my seam allowance. I think that's where I want it. Rotary cutter safety is very important. I know it can be so tempting when you're right here to just cut, but you never want to cut towards yourself. If you ever see somebody go up and back, that's one thing. You have control. Your elbow is against your body. But when you go like this, there's nothing between you and the blade, and you could hit your belly, you could hit yourself. So you really just don't want to do that. I'm a big proponent on rotary cutter safety. Looks like my tape's not holding as well as I expected. It's starting to come off a little bit. Oh, and there you can see my microphone cord. We're just keeping it all real today. Almost forgot for a minute where we were. This is where we were. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to change my blade. So we're going to get that line back up. And finish cutting the shape. And do I have one more of these? Yes. No, two more. Two more? Two more. Yeah, we've got two more of this one to cut. So we're over here. And there is no rule that says that you need to keep cutting the same piece as well, especially for something like this. So if I wanted to, for the next one, to cut it like this, just to have a little more interest, you know, I'm at the edge of my fabric, what's it matter anyway? You know, I can do that. And you know what, I'm gonna go do that. Oh, and I'm gonna add that little bit of that pink flower up there. It's just gonna add a little bit of different interest. So and if I spin it down here, I can kind of get the stem in there. You know, this is your project whenever you are fussy cutting for. So I highly encourage you to do what makes you happy and what works for you. I just wanted to show you how my brain kind of works and breaks apart shapes and things and plans. Nobody likes to waste fabric, and fussy cutting is definitely not the most economical use of fabric, but when you have motifs and designs like this, it really is the best way to feature them. And I have more than once spent a lot of time on a quilt, not fussy cut, because I didn't want to get a tiny bit more fabric, or I didn't want to waste fabric. And then I've had regrets at the end where part of an animal missing or something, and I go, you know what, Julie, you really should have taken the time to do the fussy cutting there, because it really would have made a difference. So I just encourage you to think about it and do what is best for you. Okay. Let's see, do I want to get different with this one? Do I want to get the foot? What would that look like if I got the foot in there? It would be kind of weird because that's where the head's going to be. So I don't think I want the foot. I think I just want the greenery. Yeah, I just want the greenery. So I'm going to hold that in place. And it's tempting to do that one, but I'm not going to. No, I'm all the way down in the corner. Sorry, I can't get you much closer. Okay, so I'm going to slide this out of the way for a moment just to show you the yield of what I have so far. So I have 5 sets of an elephant with a background. And for what I'm working on, I want to get 9 of these from this fat quarter. Now, obviously, the next 4 are not going to feature an elephant because I don't have any more elephants. So my choices are I could have bought a half yard or gotten more fabric if you really want to make an elephant in each one. Or what I'm going to do is feature a flower. There's nothing wrong with featuring a flower. There's plenty of great fabric left in this. So I'm going to feature a flower and then figure out what the other half of that block is going to look like. So I'm going to slide these back over here. Bring my fat quarter back. I think I'm going to start down here with this one. Okay. So I know that the long side in the case of this pattern is where I'm piecing things together. So I don't want to cut it off on the long side. I want to cut it off if there's pieces that have to be on the 90-degree corner. So I want to make sure I get all of the flower. So I'm paying attention to this line right now and kind of just deciding with the flower, how can I maximize? And I could lose that one petal. No, I think I want to keep it. And I want to keep that petal down there. I think I want that petal. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to handle it. And then once your fabric is all kind of Swiss cheese, it's up to you what to do. You can toss it in a scrap bin. You can cut it small pieces out of what's left. Everybody kind of has a different way to handle their stash. Most of the time with me, if there is still usable space that I could fussy cut any of the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut Shapes from, I keep it and I throw it into a pile of my Tula Pink scraps for small fussy cutting, and then if I'm working on something scrappy, I can pull from that little stash. So I got that one. Let's do that again. Again, I'm just going to stand it up next to the piece, ballpark it, put it down, and make sure I get all of that flower in there. Again, I'm just going to line it back up. Always take your time. It's definitely one of those, you're not measuring, but measure twice, cut once type of things where you want to make sure that you are exactly where you want to be before you start cutting. So I'm going to do this. I think I can do this one more time. So then I'm going to have to get creative for my 9th and final one because I don't think I have enough space up here. So when you're buying fabrics for fussy cutting, when in doubt, always buy more. But that being said, don't be afraid that just because you have a fat quarter that you don't have enough, especially in terms of something like this, because as you saw, only 5 of my 9 are going to have an elephant. And you know, at first glance, you might think, oh, well, if it doesn't have an elephant, then what's the whole point of fussy cutting? But there really is some good shapes still in this fabric that are worth taking the time to cut. And sometimes, I don't have a print that I can think of right now, but sometimes the background is kind of all more of one, so that once you fussy cut a shape, it doesn't really matter where you put things in the background. And then in that case, I just want to maximize the space that I've left. So I'll show you, for example, say there was no elephant here, and So what I would be doing is I would be, okay, I can definitely get one here, but can I fit another one? And I would take a piece that's already cut and be like, nope, can't do it that way. Oh, but if I do it that way, I can do it that way. So I could get two pieces out of here. And then can I still fit one over here? And I would lay that and be like, oh, great, I can get another one over there. So if once you've fussy cut all of your feature, whether they're elephants or something else, you can often really maximize. Like you see, if I cut those 4 shapes, I'm left with some really skinny leftovers. That's like the only piece, and that's about 1.5 inches by 2 inches, which is not that big. I can definitely fit another one down here. So just because you're fussy cutting doesn't mean automatically that you're going to be wasteful with your fabric. You really can just continue to put pieces around and maximize your yield. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more pieces, you know, and I'd have very little waste left. So let's get back to what I need to cut, which is what I need: 4 rights and a left. 4 rights and a left. Let's start with my left. Where do I want my last left to be? And this really is what it comes down to. Do I have enough space? I would lose the tusk. Do I care? I could get the ears. Do I want to do that? Let's see. Do I want to try and get another elephant out of the edge here? Maybe I do. Is it weird to lose the tusk? Sometimes I can't imagine losing it even with the gray border, so I'll cover it up. Oh no, I don't like that. He feels really funny without his tusk. So I'm glad I checked that. So I'm going to go ahead and come up with a different plan. I think it's that flower. I think that flower is just really going to pop. So I'm probably going to come over here because I'm near the edge, and I can just, I mean, both of those are valid places. Can I get a right out of either one of these places? Because I need more rights. Oh, I can get a right out of here. So I want to cut my left over here, my right over there. So that's the kind of thing that I do, is I kind of move back and forth. And if I didn't cut into the fabric here, which I'm checking to see, it doesn't look like I did, I can use this straight line as the start if I wanted to. Or I can leave a little bit of margin. So I've got a little bit all the way around. So yeah, so I can do that little cut towards myself. Make sure my thumb's obviously not in the way, but that's because I'm not going to hit my body. But you never want to cut this way towards yourself. When I say you don't want to cut towards yourself, I am going to cut all the way through here, because at this point I don't need to save that little piece. So this kind of piece is a little flapping in the wind here now, and I can go ahead, rotate it, and finish cutting it. So sometimes once you get a little Swiss cheesy, you can fold other pieces out of the way. That makes it even easier to realign your shape. Okay, so now I am down to needing 4 rights. Okay. So I said I could get one here, I think. Yes. How do I want that? Do I want his foot? I don't really think I want the foot if I don't have to have the foot. So I'm going to kind of do it like this. I'm going to use that straight line that's already there. Looks like I got a tiny little piece of it left to cut off. So I'm just going to line this back up and trim that off. And we're definitely getting a little Swiss cheesy now. And that is bound to happen with fussy cutting. think I'm gonna go to this corner, get this flower for the next one. Move my mat. Slide that out of the way. So I need 2 more pieces. Where am I gonna go? Let's see. Want a flower like that? Do I want it like this? I think I want it like this. Okay, so I need 1 more. What if I just focused on the greens? Kind of match that up. No, it kind of looks weird with the green being down there. No, that looks funny. Do I want that one? 2 different of the irises. And so this is kind of where I just play around sometimes. Would you know it's an elephant butt? You might not know it's an elephant butt. That could be like a kind of funny inside joke, right? That it's like an elephant butt and the green kind of goes into the green. I think I'm gonna do that. I think that's kind of funny. So I'm gonna do a little elephant tush for my last one. Sometimes you just gotta have some humor. Okay, that is the last piece that I need. So now I have fussy cut 9 pairs of 4.5-inch half triangles from this fabric. I'll turn it back around so you can see it in the correct orientation. And had I rotary cut this into 4.5-inch strips and then cut those strips down into these shapes, I would have gotten 16 pairs. So 9 pairs is less than 16. But I also still can get more than 9 pairs. I could probably get easily a 10th, an 11, 12, 13, maybe even 14. So keep in mind that while wasteful, it's not as wasteful as it may seem. It also depends on the print. Some prints you're going to get better yield than others, depending on how far apart the things are spaced, what shape you're trying to cut. You know, there's different shapes in the set. There's hexagon, half hexagon, so forth and so on. So I'm going to show you now what the yield of those 9 pieces looks like. So I have my elephant ones, I have my elephant butt. I might put the elephant butt upside down so I can see the flower that way. These are going to be oriented all different ways in my final quilt. But so I have some that are flower to flower and some that are elephant to greenery, and it's going to give me a nice mix. But even though they're not all with an elephant, I think it was still worth the time and the energy to fussy cut the flowers, and it was a good way to use up the rest of my fabric. If you have not yet signed up for the Sew Along emails, you can do so in the caption below. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos in the Sew Along. In the next video, we are going to focus on cutting fairy flakes. See you soon!